We will begin a subcommittee so that we can hear the last Senate bill of the year. I say boldly, hopefully that is true, which is Senate Bill 743. That's Senator Brown's bill. He's unable to be here this morning, so I will present this bill and hand the committee over to Senator Carter.
All right, Senator, begin when you're ready. There'll be a lot of hard questions today. It's just you and me. It's okay. It went well last time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Curtis Trent, Senate District 20, presenting Senate Bill 743 for Senator Brown. This is the Missouri Building Codes Act, which would basically set, broadly speaking, a floor, not a ceiling, for the state. So new facilities constructed for the state shall comply with standards established under the Act, and a state agency requiring building inspections shall comply with the same standards of inspection required under the Act. This bill specifies that provisions for political subdivisions adopting existing building codes by reference and acting local amendments to the state code as provided. So essentially, there are ways where local entities can have standards that deviate from sort of the baseline standards that would exist here. And there would be a process by which they'd be able to both do that and appeal if there's any kind of conflict or concern over that. So I think we do have several star witnesses here today to testify on this and the specifics thereof, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee has.
Any questions for the senator?
Good morning, Senator Brown.
Good morning.
That's all I have. Thank you.
That was a hardball question. All right, thank you. First witness in favor? Yep, that's great.
Hi, my name is Xavier Gassier. I'm here on behalf of the St. Louis chapter NECA. It's an electrical contractor association representing over 130 electrical contractors in the eastern half of Missouri. Also a founding member of Safer, Simpler Missouri, which is a coalition of 28 different industry groups seeking to establish statewide building codes in Missouri. Wanted to give some brief overview and background of 743, what it intends to do, and address a couple of comments, concerns, questions, if you will. 740, and first and foremost, obviously, we don't expect this body to pass out this bill today. All our expectation is to begin a conversation that's constructive and collaborative about what 743 intends to do. 743 intends to create a series of statewide building codes. It does so because Missouri is unique in that only 6 states in the country do not currently have a statewide building code. Everybody else has a statewide building code in at least one code area, most adopting multiple. Missouri is not a state without statewide or without building codes. We actually have a wealth of building codes across the state. You go across the state, there's 365 municipalities that have adopted a building code. There are 40 different codes that are adopted across the state, covering 6 different code areas, many of which are then further amended by the municipalities to suit their unique needs. So as you can imagine, that is a complex web of regulation to go and navigate, which is why you see that our coalition represents a very disparate set of interests, or normally disparate set of interests. Anybody associated with construction in any capacity, whether you're an engineer, architect, tradesperson, realtor, developer, any consumer or producer of construction is affected by this fracturing of codes across the state. They have to navigate these, know where they apply, know where they don't apply, understand the nuances between them. By creating statewide codes, we seek to streamline and simplify that process. So I think the most common question we get is, whenever you hear statewide codes, is you think this sounds like a lot of new regulation, new burden on Missouri, which is a fair question when you hear statewide codes. Our interpretation is actually the opposite. By creating this statewide standard, we're creating a core by which the state adheres to, which actually streamlines and simplifies the process of adhering to codes across the state. It does so by being somewhat measured and calculated, if you will, in its approach. Critically, how it affects municipalities, which is a common question. How does this actually come into effect for those municipalities across the state? It only affects municipalities that currently have a code, and it only affects the code areas that they have adopted. Easy example is if a municipality has adopted, say, an electrical code and no other codes, it does not require them to go and adopt, say, a mechanical or a plumbing code. All it requires is that they then modify whatever electrical code they've adopted to come into compliance with whatever statewide electrical code has been adopted, which creates that core standard across the state. Next question is obviously, does this remove all autonomy from municipalities? Does this strip them from the ability to do things that are specific to their needs? And again, the answer there is also no. This still allows, as mentioned, the ability to amend codes to suit unique needs. The best example I can give, we had a meeting with the Lake Area Code officials down at the Lake of the Ozarks. They have a tremendous amount of waterfront property, as you can imagine. They identified some pertinent and specific needs regarding docks. They have things that they need to go and amend within the parent code to take care of some common issues that they encounter. This still empowers them to do so. It only establishes that when they go and do those amendments, they're doing it to that same core code that's adopted across the state. That's where the consistency comes in. It does not affect the ability of a municipality to oversee or implement any sort of inspection, enforcement, licensing, permitting. We do not modify any of those provisions. We know those are hot topic issues. We do not seek to modify, restrain, regulate, or in any way impact the ability of a municipality to go and do those things as they see fit. We do make available, as written, resources for those inspection and enforcement officials because we believe it's instrumental not only to have a core set of standards adopted, but to have consistency in how those are interpreted and applied across the state. That's kind of a left-hand, right-hand sort of relationship. Beyond that, the next question obviously is, since this seems to streamline, but it also creates an opportunity potentially for municipalities that don't have codes to easily adopt a code. The concern is, what about all of our rural counties? What if they start adopting codes and then creating a whole new series of regulations that don't currently exist? Our belief is that that will not occur. There's a couple reasons why, but critically, third and fourth class counties across Missouri can only adopt codes at the county level by putting it on the ballot, not to the voters. So the only reason that a county would ever adopt a code that does not have one currently would be if the voters then decided that that is appropriate for themselves. It does not regulate the ability of municipalities within a county, which is why we have 365 municipalities that have adopted a code. But again, it does not create an incentive, or and certainly does not force any county that does not have a code currently to go and adopt them. Pertinent again to kind of our rural communities, it does not regulate any sort of farm or agricultural building. We understand those needs are unique and they are specifically carved out within the bill. Again, this is a far-reaching bill affecting many industries, streamlining our ability to operate with many benefits to Missouri without creating new or burdensome regulations, and instead streamlining those that exist. With that, I know we've got a number of other people waiting to testify, so I'll cut it and happy to answer any comments, questions, concerns you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next in favor?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Ryan King. I'm an architect practicing here in the state of Missouri, and today I'm representing AIA Missouri, which is a coalition of the licensed architects in the state. So architects deal a lot with building codes, as you might have garnered. With what Xavier said was over 40 different versions of that. That's quite a bit of material for architects to understand, have memorized basically, and work to. And typically we work across many jurisdictions within the state. And knowing 40 different versions of the same thing is a burdensome on our practices typically. And many times, some of those burdensome cause confusion across jurisdictions. And when that happens, that is typically a burden on the architect to redraw, rework, or at their cost, make changes to documents and potentially pay for changes to construction, depending on how their contract is set up. And depending on that, it also may cost owners, builders, developers undue costs when we have to change things due to changes in the code or misinterpretations of the code across jurisdictions. It also there's no standardization, so if someone builds something in one jurisdiction, it doesn't mean we can build it the same way in the next jurisdiction, maybe a mile down the road. I would say that there's well over 1,000 architects. I think there's 2,000 practicing architects in the state of Missouri. So you can imagine how, though that number of people knowing 40 different code books causes quite the burden. With that, and then also I might state that under our Practice Act in the state of Missouri, we have to do buildings under the 2018 building code, the International Building Code, if there is no jurisdiction that has a code. And so we already have an establishment of a basement, if you will, or a bare minimum that we have to design to, and we're just trying to bring that up to standard. Also, with newer editions of the code, I might say, if we stay with the old editions, they don't have the knowledge that the newer versions have. So as the building codes update, there's learned things, and then there's also committees that lobby to those building codes to update and make changes depending on what we've learned in the industry. For example, I'll use the Joplin tornado as an example. So I believe it's the 2018 where safe rooms were updated. We had previously had a standard for that, but because of what happened there and studies in science proved out some things, so some of the changes to the standards happened then. And then in 2024 edition coming out, there will be additional changes as they've learned from some of these big storms, how they've affected some of the buildings. So we've been changing as we go. One of the biggest things that happened a long time ago in Las Vegas, there was a large fire. You can all look it up at the MGM Grand, and it talks about exiting from hotels and bigger buildings and things like that. That's one big piece that has been gets updated. We learn from those incidents so that we can keep people safe. So that's why we want to keep a minimum standard and keep growing with the code as we learn along the way. So,
Is there already a collaborative practice, so to speak, where some of those best practices are funneled through those main veins to be able to adopt some of those policies, or do you find yourself having to?
So the ICC, which is what publishes the International Building Code, which is what's stated, I'll call it as the General Building Code in the bill, they nationally have an organization that brings together many organizations, coalitions, or whatever to solicit changes and or information to it. So they already have a framework established that works, we feel, to update the code every 3 years, basically. This isn't updated like every month or anything like that.
Right.
It's updated on a 3-year cycle.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thanks.
Next in favor?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Luke Reed. I'm here with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we're part of the Safer, Simpler Coalition here to support Senate Bill 743. I'd be in a real pickle if I tried to outdo the previous witnesses because they really knew what they were doing. Once again, streamline state building code to create regulatory predictability. That's the big part that we care about, and we're one of only 6 states, as the first witness mentioned, And yeah, we just want a safer Missouri where it's simpler to do business. And while we realize it's the end of session, basically, as you all stated, what this could be the last bill of this committee, we hope that we can continue this conversation into future years and not throw it in the trash. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, appreciate your testimony. Next in favor?
Good morning, Senators. I'm David Claridge. I'm today appearing on behalf of the Mechanical Contractors Association of Eastern Missouri, the Mechanical Contractors Association of Kansas City, the Plumbing Industry Council, and the Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning National Association in favor of Senate Bill 743. I'm grateful for Senator Trent and Senator Brown presenting this legislation this morning. The legislation that as you've heard, provides some degree of uniformity for a fractured code that we see popping up throughout the state of Missouri. It's most evident as you see multi-jurisdictions, political subdivisions in St. Louis County where you have 93. And even within the same code, you can have different applications which have both direct and indirect costs associated with them that's passed along directly to you. We'd like to see that avoided. And so, Senators, we appreciate your consideration of the legislation at this very late date in anticipation, prospectively, of perhaps its ultimate passage, hopefully in the near future. But, Senators, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank
Great.
you, Senator.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, appreciate your time. Next in favor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Grace here today on behalf of the Missouri Growth Association. We'd like to go on record in favor.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions for the witness? Seeing none. Thank you again. Next in favor? Anyone here to testify for informational? Oh, go ahead, sir. That was close. Go ahead. Are you opposed? Okay, well, step right up. Anyone here in opposition? That would be you, just to make clear.
That would be me.
For those who may be listening.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Richard Sheets. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Municipal League. And yes, we do have concerns for SB 743. I think some of the testimony suggests that the codes around the state, that the 300-plus cities that have adopted are different and not uniform, and I disagree with that. Cities don't create their own codes. They use the uniform codes that the organizations then sell to the cities that they use. So there's standardization in the codes. Cities do modify those, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But what's not consistent is the year, as previous testimony suggested, that these codes are updated, and it's the creating or adopting those new codes which may not be consistent among jurisdictions. And I'm not sure this legislation would correct that, because what the new codes would have to be adopted by regulation. So when new codes come in to take in consideration new technology and concerns, it would have to go through the regulatory process of the state. And if anyone's been in Jeff City, you know how long that process takes. So I think it would hamper the ability of our codes to answer critical safety issues that come about. So I don't think it really would be a safety, promote safety in building codes, because it takes that long to go through the regulatory process. Secondly, cities do amend their codes. They do it for various reasons. Sometimes the building community, the city council sees issues. I just talked to a city a couple of weeks ago on another building code issue. I was doing some research, and they're looking at amending their building codes to exempt certain items, minor items, from receiving or requiring them to have a building code. And now that city, I believe it was the city of Lebanon, if I'm not mistaken, would have to come to Jeff City and go before the building commission and their staff, and I'm sure they would have a bureaucracy supporting that staff, to present this change, and the timetable would be up to that commission. So it wouldn't be a very timely process for the city to amend their codes to reflect some local needs. So I think it really slows that process down. It may not promote a favorable type of building situation in that community. It just would just take more time and may even prevent cities from even looking at those changes, because we have to come to Jeff City, take staff time, and work around the schedule of this state agency that is going to approve this amendment. So we think that's going to slow down any improvements in local codes. Thirdly, the bill says that it's not just, previous testimony indicated that counties would have to go to a vote, but if the way I read the bill, it says any jurisdiction within third, fourth class cities that want to adopt a building code would have to go to the vote of the people. So cities that are looking at building codes, cities that are growing that do not have a building code would now, if they're located in third and fourth class cities, which are majority of our cities in the state, would now have to go to a vote of the people to enact building codes. And I don't think that would promote safety and politicizes the whole process. I think we certainly want to meet with the groups and talk about future legislation, but I think this is not really the answer, and I think it would not solve the problems that some of the witnesses has suggested. I'll try to answer any questions if I can.
So you're not saying that you're not necessarily in opposition to the need of standardization.
Oh, no, I'm not, but I'm not sure this really corrects it because, as a previous witness suggested or indicated, as things happen, we learn new techniques and learn things from natural disasters and have to approve our codes. The national code committees make those changes and cities adopt those but here the state would have to adopt that and go through the regulatory process, and that's not a quick process. So I'm not sure the state code would always be in compliance with the new standards that these technical code committees suggest.
Are you aware of how they do it in other states? And is it?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay.
But the national codes, that's a national. Cities don't create their own codes. That's statewide. I mean, nationally. So these codes are used throughout the nation.
So is it safe to say that there are cities that are already naturally adopting those national codes?
Excuse me. They're.
Are there the 300 municipalities, right?
Yes.
So are they naturally, is it safe to make an assumption that to a certain degree those municipalities are already adopting those national
Oh, absolutely, yes. Because technical codes, they're very technical. So a city can't sit down and create their building codes. They rely on these national codes. And there's 3 code companies, and for many years they created their own codes. Now there's a uniform code, so they're all use the same uniform code for the most part. And cities adopt those uniform building codes, electrical codes. And this makes some modifications to some special local needs. And we're concerned coming to Jeff City to ask for those amendments would just slow that process up and maybe even politicizes even more.
Okay. No, I appreciate your testimony. Any questions for the witness? All right.
Thank
you
you.
for your time. Next in opposition.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shannon Hawk here today on behalf of the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis. The League of St. Louis has several similar concerns to that of the State League, and we would be very happy and would love to sit down with these groups and try to figure out a path to move forward.
All right.
Next
Thank
year.
you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Anyone else here to testify in opposition? Anyone here for informational purposes only? All right, thank you. Senator, that concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 743, and I turn it back over to you.
All right. So the committee's going to go into recess until 9:30 here, and then when we come back, we will contemplate executive session. So for now, until I guess. I make a motion that committee go into recess until 9:30 this day. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Committee is in recess.
Coleman, McCreary, Weber.
All right, we have a quorum. So I move that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We are in executive session. I next move that we bring House Committee substitute for House Bill 937 before the committee. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. I next move that the committee vote do pass House Committee substitute House Bill 937. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. This is the Protection Against Discrimination in Educational Settings bill from that has both the bill against anti-Semitism and the Missouri Crown Act in that we heard last week. Any discussion? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be voting yes on the bill this morning, but I've talked to Dr. Hruza and some of my colleagues in both parties. We think there are some things we want to work on if this bill moves forward, but I just wanted to put that out there so that no one thought I was doing anything behind the scenes to hurt the bill. Thanks.
Certainly appreciate that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I renew my motion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent. Gregory. Bernstetter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. Weber.
By your vote of 5 aye and 0 no, you vote do pass House Committee substitute for House Bill 937. I next move that we bring House Bill number 437 before the committee. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. I next move that the committee vote do pass House Bill 437. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. This is the settlement demand, or what's called the time-limited demand bill, basically reestablishing the 90-day window which an insurer has to respond to settlement demands before a lawsuit can proceed on bad faith claims. Any discussion? Seeing none, I renew my motion that committee vote do pass House Bill 437. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Bernstetter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. Weber.
By your vote of 4 aye and 1 no, you have voted do pass House Bill 437. I next move that we bring before the committee House Committee substitute for House Bill 105. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. I next move that the committee vote do pass House Committee substitute for House Bill 105. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. This is the conveyance of certain state property. It authorizes the governor to convey land located in Miller County, as provided in the bill, to the city of Osage Beach and Camden County, land located in Jackson County to State Highways and Transportation Commission, land located in Webster County to State Highways and Transportation Commission. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, I renew my motion that committee vote do pass House Committee Substitute House Bill 105. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Bernsketter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. Weber.
By your vote of 5 ayes and 0 noes, you voted do pass House Committee Substitute for House Bill 105. I next move that we bring before the committee House Committee Substitute for House Bill 344. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. I next move that committee vote do pass House Committee Substitute for House Bill 344. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. This bill is the state preemption of sale of tobacco and various other nicotine-related products that we had a hearing on a couple of weeks ago. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I renew my motion that the committee vote do pass House Committee Substitute House Bill 344. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Bernsketter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. Weber.
By your vote of 4 ayes and 1 no, you have voted do pass House Committee Substitute for House Bill 344. I next move that we bring before the committee House Committee Substitute for House Bill 145 and 59. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. I next move that the committee adopt Senate Committee Substitute, which has been distributed ending .03C. This committee substitute differs from the House perfected version by adding language to prohibit a public body from closing the municipality or zip code of residence of the visitor. This is in section 610.021. Discussion on the Senate Committee Substitute. Yes, proceed.
I'm trying to keep up with this. So the sub does include the language so that if there are visitors to parks or historic sites, the zip code of where they're coming from is available, but not their full address. Is that the language that's in there?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion on the Senate Committee Substitute? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting Senate, or I move that we adopt Senate Committee Substitute. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting Senate Committee Substitute, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. You have adopted the Senate Committee Substitute. I now move that the committee vote do pass Senate Committee Substitute for House Committee Substitute for House Bill 145 and 59. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I renew my motion that the committee vote do pass Senate Committee Substitute, House Committee Substitute, House Bill 145 and 59. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Bernsketter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. Weber.
By your vote of 5 ayes and 0 noes, you have voted do pass Senate Committee Substitute, House Committee Substitute, House Bill 145 and 59. With no further business coming before the committee, I make a motion that we leave executive session. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We are out of executive session with no further business coming before the committee. I move that we stand adjourned. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed to the contrary? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Committee is adjourned.